Good evening. This is the video newsletter for Buy Sell Short for Thursday, October 21st. Today we're going to start off with the Dow daily chart. And here we're looking at the daily chart. And looking at this daily chart, this is a pretty bullish setup we've got on the Dow daily. We had that Tuesday test of the 20-day exponential. We got back almost all of those losses yesterday, and then we continued higher this morning, up plus 90 before we had a sell off, and then another late day bounce. So looking at the daily chart, things look pretty good. The problem is market is really so right now. As I mentioned in that alert I sent out this morning, and then like I've been saying in the chat room, the way the market's been moving over the last couple of days, especially the large gains we've seen at 1 point plus 200 plus, and the lack of interest or the lack of movement in 90% of stocks, has us just stepping back to the sidelines, even if it's just for the next day or so, just to, check things out and see if we're actually going to be able to break out and put in a new high on the Dow daily. We did have that golden cross last month on the Dow, and we're about to have one on the Nasdaq and the S&P 500. So pretty bullish, seeing both those events occur. But we've got the election in 2 weeks' time, and we've got the Fed meeting almost at the same time, and the beginning of QE2. So we've got a lot of possible headwinds coming. A lot of the action in the market over the last couple of days, at least a lot of the movement, has been in the large mega caps. Netflix up $20, Apple, regaining its gains, Google up 60, etc., etc. And for the most part, a lot of stocks have just been dead. Like I mentioned in the chat room, some stocks like OPXT, OPWV, NEI, the action and the upside we've had in stocks over the last couple of days should have seen those stocks put in some very nice pops. And, the only action we've seen over the last couple of days has been in the China metal stocks that really have no fundamentals behind them. And late today, we saw the low float stocks take off, and more on that later. So, we want to be sitting on high cash right now, 70% plus, the higher the better. If you've got any laggard dog plays sitting in your portfolios, clear them out. You're already sitting on those losses. You're just realizing them right now. And believe me, the relief you get once you get rid of the stock that's been annoying you, like RGN, which has done absolutely nothing for us over the last month, and PKT, etc., etc. Once you clean out those dogs, it's amazing the positive feeling you get from just clearing that out, sitting on cash, and then being able to actually jump on action as it appears, because you're not weighed down by a bunch of other stocks. You got some cash, and you can go gamble a little bit on some of the low floats like they popped late in the day. Looking at the 15-minute chart, as you can see, we had that big dip, big rally, another dip, another bounce back. So we're sort of in wait and see mode. The market continues to follow the actions of the dollar. Dollar was up half a point or half a percentage point today, so that's where we saw a lot of the weakness in stocks, at least earlier after we had that big move. Tech stocks have done rather well. I mean, the earnings reports for the most part have just, they've been blowing the doors off earnings, and guidance has been very good. But we're seeing a little bit of exhaustion after the large move we've had since September, and you're probably going to see some funds possibly step to the sidelines and just wait till the election passes. So we could have a few days of softness, or we could bust up to the upside and crazily. Sitting on high cash, we can always rebuy stocks that we've sold. We're just making ourselves feel comfortable, clearing the mind, and getting ready to pounce on some new plays. Now, as I mentioned, uh, late in the day, we had some crazy moves in some low float stocks, and let me pick one up. This one started it all. LIVE stock went from $4.50 to $23. Just went kaboom. And then that started, that happened about 40 minutes left in the session, and that started some action in the low float stocks. And that is not untypical at this stage of a rally, seeing the low float stocks move like this. There's a lot of speculative money out there, a lot of frustrated traders, especially given the lack of action over the last couple of days, except for in the China metals. So we could see some low float craziness tomorrow, and as such, I got a couple of little low float stocks for us to keep an eye on. ICGN. This is one we played quite a few times. They did a reverse split, and they're finally back to the ICGN symbol. Only 5 million and change in the float on this stock now. It's got a market cap of 7 million and change, $12 million in cash. Deal with Pfizer that they renewed last month. Very nice chart setup here. A buck 28, the 20-day exponential could light this one up, and we could be looking at a 50% gain very easily on this one, especially given what we saw in the low float stocks. RSI is bottomed out. Stochastics also bottomed out, so definitely one to keep an eye on. I would look to accumulate this one, a buck 25 and under, and this is definitely one we could easily see this one trading 175 to $2 tomorrow. Another low floaty play to keep an eye on, FONR. Again, I'm just looking for some beaten down low floater plays. Late in the day, they also started jamming up another one, RITT. This one went from 140 to 220. Another one which you're pretty familiar with is Alan, ALAN. This one they were able to jam this one up, from 140 or 160 to 190 almost a 20% gain. So, there is some attention coming into these low flow plays, and especially after the move in LIVE. Traders are going to be really, really hungry going into tomorrow. So here's a couple of these low floaters to keep an eye on that look like they've got possibly some nice little upside. ARNA. Pretty much all I can say about this one is big disappointment and lesson learned. The play on this one, my biotech bouncer play, is we look for a bounce 3 to 4 weeks after a stock has tanked. It did exactly that. It bounced from a buck 51 to 187, 20% gain. Thing is, we got caught up in the overall bullish market, thought we'd get a fat run on this one, and we gave back a bunch of our gains. Lesson learned. Triggered stops late in the day. The FDA meetings tomorrow, as a personal rule, do not hold stocks into FDA meetings, although we did jump into a couple of November $3 calls just in case, on the happen chance that the FDA actually goes against their own panel and approves it. If they do, those calls, even though there's only a couple, would be nice, because this one would just go sky high if the FDA, on a slim chance actually approved it. But, lesson learned. Caught up on the bullish market. We looked for too much on this play, and we gave up some gains. SNSS. This is a stock, heavy volume over the last couple of days that you need to keep a pretty close eye on. Breakout on this one is 36 cents. They sold 40 million shares a week or so ago at 35 cents, and the volume's been really, really healthy over the last couple of days. A couple of, market commentators have been pumping this one, and, the volume has definitely come in here. If you're looking for upside targets on this one, would be 40, 42, 48 cents with stops and support at 32 cents. RSI is about to break 50, positive MACD cross. Stochastics breaking up through 50. So just one to keep an eye on. A break of 36 cents. I'd be looking to grab a nice little scalp position on this one for some follow through. And, maybe it happens tomorrow. So going into tomorrow, focus is really going to be on a couple of these low floats. Love the chart setup on ICGN. You would probably be playing this one just on the chart itself. And the fact that low floats are going, and this is a low float trading 50% under its cash value, looks really, really good for tomorrow's session. That's really it for the video tonight. High cautious stance right now. I mean, we can reverse course and start going, low cash really, really quickly, especially if the market turns around. But we've had a few stocks get our stops hit on them, and when that happens, sort of back off, reevaluate, don't play them as much. And actually, on a side note, while I think about it, OVRL, don't forget this one is also a low float stock. This one's gotten beaten over the last couple of days on sort of decent volume, which is not a good sign to see. And again, keep the stops on these plays, play them small. Right now we're playing positions half size, at least in the interim. just till we start to see stocks or the small cap and mid stock cap stocks respond better. So that is it for the video. Again, we're probably going to be looking at some low float action tomorrow. And if you've got any questions on any plays, past plays, suggestions for plays, technical questions, feel free to just shoot me an email or, hop into the chat room and send me an instant message. More than happy to answer any questions. And I will see you guys in the chat room tomorrow. Good night.